And and so you say there should be that the Messiah came finally after thousands of years of awaiting the promised Messiah. He was prophesied by many places in the scriptures, hundreds of prophecies so we would know who he was, etc. And lo and behold, finally somebody comes who fulfills the prescription. But not everyone agreed. So now what happens is we have some people within Judaism who say he's the Messiah, and some people who say he's not. What to do? Well, this happens within religious circles where there's differences of opinion. And so it went along for some while, for about 40 years. And then something happened that was not expected that really kind of changed things. And that was, in 70 A.D., Titus and the Roman legions came in and destroyed the temple. Now this was a very key thing, because there are so many procedures that are to be followed with under the sacrificial system, that what to do. I mean, we have all of these instructions, and how am I to carry them out? Because if I fail to carry out these instructions for the sacrifices, I am transgressing against a direct command from God. What am I to do? What's the remedy? Well, surely, God will provide a solution. Surely there will be a solution. And so people thought, well, all right, God's in charge, and I mean, the Romans won't always be here, and maybe in 5 years we can rebuild the temple. And so it went along, but now the people who believed that Yeshua, Jesus, is the Messiah, they now said, aha! There's not one stone upon another. This has all been destroyed. And the thing is that there is an answer. And the answer is that the sacrificial system has been satisfied completely. All of those intricacies have all been taken care of in great detail. And so the lamb was sacrificed, the blood is on the altar, and therefore it satisfies all of that prescription. Not to worry. Our sacrifice has been accepted once and for all, a genuinely perfect sacrifice. Not to worry. All taken care of. So now we have two groups of people. One says, well, we're waiting for the temple to be rebuilt soon. And the other group of people says, well, it's already been satisfied. And we have two different opinions about this, what to do now that we don't have the temple. Well, we go along, all right, for another 65 years. I mean, it's a generation, all right. We're now up to the year 135 A.D. And now we have another triggering event separating these two groups, these two opinions. And so what happens is there is an event whereby there was a military person called Bar Kokhba. And Bar Kokhba was a military leader, and there was a revolt against the Romans. And this military leader, Bar Kokhba, is named by the Jewish establishment as being the Messiah. This Yeshua from Nazareth is not the Messiah. That carpenter was a no-goodnik. No, our guy, Bar Kokhba, he's the Messiah. You'll see, time will tell. And so now the separation of the two groups is now over 130 years in separation. It now moves further into two different parties, so to speak. Now we begin to see that that the believers in Yeshua being the Messiah, they couldn't say that Bar Kokhba is the Messiah. They've already said that Yeshua is the Messiah. This is phony baloney. Bar Kokhba is not the Messiah. The Messiah has already come. It's Yeshua. And so They couldn't do that. And from that point on in 135 AD, or CE, the Common Era, the believers in Yeshua were excluded because you couldn't say that Bar Kokhba is the Messiah. So it is that the separation was now complete, and social dynamics has it that the two groups became exclusionary to the other. I am of God, and therefore you are not. And therefore my group is righteous, and yours is, by definition, unrighteous. And both groups saw this through their own prism, and very passionately so. So the rules of exclusion began to take effect. Things took on a very much partisan nature. And that continued for about 2,000 years. A grand mistake, a separation. But God was not going to be overruled in his plan that was moving forward. You see, that difference of opinion was for the purpose of allowing the Gentiles to come into the faith. Abraham was to establish a new people, okay, but he was also to establish the faith race, a group of people who could be identified as being of the faith. So that's where we are. We are members of the faith race, Jews and Gentiles, both part of the faith race. Okay, 2,000 years, a mistake. And you say, when is God going to correct the mistake? Is he going to be overruled by the enemy? Never so be it. What will happen is something will come along to change this equation. 2,000 years is quite a long time. And lo and behold, within this generation, there has been something that has come about to bring about this long-awaited and biblical correction. It's called the Messianic movement. We few, and congregations like ours, also usually few, are the beginnings of a fundamental change in the landscape, whereby, a little bit at a time, there will be a change whereby Jews and Gentiles, this separation of such long standing, will vanish. There will still be an ethnic identity of the Jewish people, like Jeremiah said. So long as the sun, the moon, and the stars are fixed in their ordinance, there will always be a Jewish people. The ethnicity will remain. God ordained it. Okay? But the members of the faith race will be united, and we are part of that. We are those who are early in the game. So let's begin our service.